All right, it's Friday Night Pints, Chicago edition. We got Carl grabbing his stool. Dave is nowhere to be found, but he's going to join us in a moment. There he is.
Dave's getting a sandwich.
Today is brought to you by 3Chi.
That was.
Guess what the tab was at the end of the night?
They were at Green Rock last night.
Oh, shit.
It was tame, except for our table, but the rest of the bar.
That's the thing. It can be. Sometimes the bar is just closed, and it's the rest of the bar is pretty safe.
Was Pat there?
I think so.
And he's one of those guys. When he comes out, it's like, I like if you're not ready to rock, I don't think you can be around Pat Light. You know, it's like I can't do Pat Light right now.
Dave ordered 1 round of shots. And I'm like, all right, I'll do 1 round of shot. We're in New York last night in New York. I'll do 1, and then the guy just on the table.
Last time that happened to me, I went to I don't remember the name of the bar, but David Wright's brother was either the manager, owner, or just a bartender there. And it was many years ago, so David Wright was still a big deal, and I'm thinking, like, all right, I'm going to get in with his brother, and I'm going to figure this all out. And he brings out the bottle of Jameson, like, puts it down. And at this point, I'm still, like, in my drinking prime, but I've never been the type to, like, just take down a bottle of Jameson. Yeah. And we went half on it, like, just shot for shot, and he kept being like, "You ready for another one?" I was like, "Absolutely not!" But like, I gotta impress David Wright's brother.
Puke real quick,
and
I'll be back.
you know when people always say like I blacked out, it's like you didn't like really. I mean, I fully time traveled. It was like I remember the last shot, and then I woke up in my bed with the clothes and the lights on, texts from my girlfriend, people looking for me, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Shoes on?
All of it, brother. I mean, it's a miracle I even made it
That's
home.
the real key. If your shoes are on.
Yeah.
It's like you buy your mom or your parents a house, you buy your brother a bar. If you become a professional athlete,
right.
Assuming that that's how it happens.
Yeah, he did it right, man. David Wright's one of the guys who, like, obviously, career cut short, but like,
got in on that vitamin water.
Big money from investments, super hot wife, great kids, like, pretty much not anonymous, but like you don't just see him. He's not certainly never in trouble.
Punch me in the face. I don't think I'd be able to say.
Does he still live in New York?
I mean, like,
I don't even know.
It's NL first of all, but also like, I mean, he looks just very nondescript.
Yeah.
Like it looks like David Wright.
Just a good fucking dude.
Yeah.
Certainly never in trouble, but also never even any like silly drama. Nothing. He's just like. It's almost
one of
boring
the rare top high school baseball position players who like just traditionally just pans out. Like he just did well the whole way.
Yep.
Like he literally is a perfect model. Like if you had a son, you were like, well, you do have a son.
Yeah.
If you want your kid to like play sports and be good and shit, you think about a guy like that, right?
If my son could, be a 100th of David Wright, I'd be happy. You know what I mean? He's just that dude, and people forget how fucking good he was. That year,
he was awesome.
If in 2007, if the
Mm-hmm.
Mets don't collapse and they make the playoffs, David Wright wins the MVP. He was like 325, 30, 120 that year. Jimmy Rollins snuck in because the Phillies won. And he did that 20-20-20-20 thing with the 20 triples. Yeah. And I think the Mets, like, hopefully right the wrongs of 2006. Like, I think the whole fucking history of the Mets changes if they win, like, one more game in September. That was the worst month of my life. Literally the worst month of my life. And I've gone through some months, folks. I've gone through some months, but, man, that was
September 2007.
I'm not even kidding. But, like, I remember being in a bar. What's, like, your stupidest sports moment ever? Because I remember being in a bar you know how, I don't know if you guys know this as well as we know in New York, but they were up 7 with 17 to play. Like, that night, I was at a bar. I had gone to the Mets game, and I was like, we're up 7 games with what, like 15 to go? It's over, guys. It's over. I was screaming at Philly fans, talking all this shit. That was maybe when the mush was born. That was like the stupidest, wrongest I've ever been. Huh?
Yeah, I think you guys could probably trade these moments for hours, right? Of just like mushing stuff into existence. James Shields.
That one is bad.
2 weeks ago, Luis Robert, who's gonna be a fucking freak if he can stay healthy, I was like, Luis Robert's going yard today. Literally the next pitch, he's running out a fucking infield single and just pops his hip flexor. People were shitting down my throat for that. They're like, you fucking asshole, how could you say something fucking stupid like that? I'm like, what did I do?
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't know those people were still around. They were around for a while. I remember getting furious one time. I think it was like a USA hockey game. And I think it was in Sochi.
So 14.
And I forget what game it was. And I just tweeted something like, goal's about to happen or whatever. And then, like, whoever we were playing scored, probably Canada, probably scored. And they were like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, The fact that we're even entertaining the idea that my tweets influence hockey games in Russia is going to make me
so
broke.
dumb.
Do you know how many Stanley Cups we would have won if I could influence what's going on with tweets?
I will maybe respect the no-hitter thing just because that's like a thing, you know what I mean? Like you dance around it, you have some fun. Hey, you might want to like turn on the game because what's happening, you know. But other than that, it's fucking crazy to.
Oh, that's a
mad about.
baseball rule.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's that's
Yeah,
an
yeah,
established
Scorpius
thing,
one,
but
too. Like, they're the most superstitious people on the planet. so.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, now that has bled so much now into gambling, and so if I have you have a line or you're around your buddy, so when we were doing the March Madness streams
I
around
almost
Dave and
fucked
everybody,
up
and it's
big
like, yeah, okay, well I got fucking Oral Roberts plus 10.5, whatever it is, and there's 10 minutes left in the game, and you're sitting there going, feel pretty good. Anybody who has Oral Roberts in the room is like, what the fuck you got?
Yeah, what Hank had like he had like a term that he used where he said like
Gucci, we Gucci.
Yeah, we Gucci. And it was the worst
Even
thing
Eddie's
ever.
famous clap. You just had a clap one time.
That was amazing. Eddie literally was like,
What the fuck was that? Everyone knows a little let's go, boys. You know, and I just got fucking roasted for it.
so yeah, I mean that was you were at the sportsbook with Dave, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you're now you got like the Chicago world you'll always be a part of in your fucking little treehouse office.
No,
And
not anymore. Their new offices.
upgrade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Our other
Their new office is
current
nicer
office
than
is
this
like as
office.
big as his bar. Like
No, literally.
small.
Our new
Yeah.
office is way nicer than
Yeah,
this office.
yeah, it's a good feeling
It's,
when you
it's
upgrade.
better than the
You can open
second
the door
HQ.
the full way.
Oh,
without
amazing.
hitting
A
tables,
full
yeah.
range
You
of
never
motion
made
on
it
the
out
door.
there, right?
Huh?
Neither of you guys
No.
have.
No?
I have
To
not
the
been out
Chicago
there,
office.
man.
Yeah, lucky you.
Yeah, not much bigger than his like bar area.
Come on, say the thing.
If it even is.
All right, we're going on vacation.
But you know what? I do. I mean, of course, you just got to upgrade and have a nicer place than that. But part of it, like, there's a reason why everybody loves the Milton era of Barstool,
Yeah.
and like, this place is great, but it doesn't have like the storylines and the charm and the funniness. It's like if you want to kind of manufacture, you don't want to be phony and be like. If you can be in a nice office, you have to be in a nice office
Yeah.
because otherwise you're just being frauds by being
Right.
like in a shitty, like piece of shit hole. But so much good shit
Yeah,
comes
you
out
We
of
did
that,
like
you know.
have that discussion. Be like, it would be nice, but let's make it nicer, but still sort of
Yeah,
shitty.
you
Let's
don't
make
want
it sort of
to.
shitty
You don't
so
want to
people
totally
still
sell
like
out.
us.
Yeah. Was that after Dave saw that? He was like, "We're getting a new place."
No,
we
it was
were
in
that
the
was
works
already
for
in
a
the works,
while.
yeah.
That's the funny part.
Yeah.
Like since
great.
August.
But that was
Yeah.
just like,
We were at the
Oh, wow,
goal. We were
okay.
at the goal line and Dave came in.
Got it.
So-
Got it.
so yeah.
So
Just
credit to
push
Dave.
it through more, I guess.
The
Yeah, but I mean, is that like the most, like honestly, that's like the most Dave thing of all time because
Yeah.
like literally the internet is giving Dave credit for like our new, like when we move into our new office, that video is gonna go re-viral.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, yo, no offense, Dave. I mean, other than cutting the checks, you had nothing to do with this place. And people are gonna be like, that's Dave stepping up again.
I don't know if you know this,
Got
but
his
he
guys.
gets
He's
credit.
with his guys.
He's done everything for all of us. I don't know if you saw the tweet the other day. I would be an accountant wasting away. So yeah, he's gonna get
If it
credit.
wasn't for Dave.
We were just doing the rundown, and I didn't even think about the fact that his house is out there. You were the one pointing out on the podcast that
Yeah.
his address and what the exact house looks like is now out there. And I was thinking like that kind of always happens with like they have that aerial shot of like
Yeah.
Tom Brady just bought a $40 million
Yeah.
mansion. So that happens all the time, but there's no like crazy Tom Brady fans who are gonna like storm his house, whereas
Yeah.
like there are gonna be stoolies who. You think there's more like rabid weirdo Tom Brady fans than stoolies that are gonna like?
That's a good.
I would say there's more like rabid. Like yes, I think the list of athletes whose houses they would storm. It's small,
Yeah.
but I think Brady's up there. I mean,
The reason I think the reason Dave gets stormed and approached so much is he has such a track record of taking just regular
Right.
That's
bums
what I
like
mean.
us
Yeah.
and giving us
Like Tom Brady might get some people outside being like, we want to catch a glimpse of Giselle and let's take it. Where there might be a stoolie who
yeah.
like walks up and rings the fucking doorbell and is like, hey, can we watch a game
Yeah,
together?
haven't even touched it a few times.
Well, I
Yeah.
feel like the people who are going to the Tom Brady's house are dangerous. Like those
Yeah,
people
they might be like
you're-
actually, yeah,
right.
okay. So it's like there's probably more stoolies, but the ones who are doing it for Tom Brady,
Yeah.
he needs a restraining order.
Let's
Right.
do
And
a
a lot
round
of them just
table
want
real quick.
something. You know, they want a selfie, they want a job. They
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
they'll come ring. And Tom Brady, it's like, what
I'm
are
a
you
big
doing?
fan.
Right.
Can I
Yeah,
have
what
a
would you
job?
want from Tom Brady other than an autograph?
I don't know what you would want. Like to say,
That's when you're
you might want
normal.
even with Davey, they just want a conversation. I don't even know if I want a conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take that
Yeah.
tux from the Met Gala. Like I'll take that.
If you give me that blue jacket,
Yeah.
like I'd take that.
What are you mad?
What were we talking about? Round table?
So hold on. We'll start with Kevin. So say Dave's down in Miami, chilling in his $1 billion home. What would happen if he came home and you, and we'll go through the whole table, that if you were just chilling in the pool, like suntan on the nose, Zuckerberg
man.
style, just on a floaty, whipping around the noodles? Like,
What would Dave's actual reaction be?
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I think it would just be like what the fuck are you doing here? And like, get the fuck out.
I don't know. I think
You
it's
would be
just-
good.
Yeah,
I think
you'd be
it'd
good.
fine.
I think he'd be like,
I think
what
he'd
are
think I
you
was a
doing here?
maintenance
But
guy.
like,
I think he would think I'm like fixing the pool.
Would you get away with it?
No, it'd be the same as Kevin's.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? Get out.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably
like
be
I
worse
could see him
off.
do one of these things. Like I could see him kind of like
No,
looking
he's
and then
sneaky, loves you.
like
He
texting gas. Or
doesn't
something.
want anything to do with me, though.
I think
Well, yeah.
he'd be befuddled. He'd be like, "How did you get here?"
Yeah.
Like if you were alone, he'd be like, "You got here alone." Like no.
Yeah,
Like where's?
right. Like, he
he'd
broke
be
in.
wondering where Eddie is if you were there.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I think he would also be
Like,
like laugh.
Dave.
Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, like that's
I think he'd be like pissed if I was there. Like pissed.
I think if you were there,
He'd be
I
pissed
think
if Nate was
you'd
there.
be fine.
Nate. You'd be mad at. He would be more like.
I asked him what would happen if I just showed up at his Nantucket house. He's like, I'd call cops.
okay. Well,
I was
I
gonna say
mean,
he'd get you on live real quick and be like, I just
Yeah.
got out here and like Dave's like in the fucking pool. What's
White
happening?
Sox, Dave.
He refuses to call me Dave too, by the way.
What does
It's
he
the
call
same
you?
name, White Sox Dave. Which
Oh, the full name.
I kind of hate, but it's like obviously whatever.
Yeah.
10 years
There's only
later,
one day.
yeah,
he
you
will
can't
never
be
call
Dave
me
too.
just Dave.
I don't think
Which is
I
funny.
mean, that's
Yeah, I mean,
he's
it's-
Dave. I'm surprised he didn't make you change your fucking name.
He did.
You're
'Cause
like,
when Neil, this is the story. When Neil like hired me or whatever, and he's like, "What's your nickname? Do you have like something you want to go by?" I'm like, "No one calls me anything but Dave.
Yeah.
Like grandparents, friends, doesn't matter, just Dave." And he's like, "All right, you're Dave then." I'm like, "I'm Dave." And 10 minutes later, he's like, "You can't be Dave. We already Dave Portnoy." He's like, "You're White Sox Dave." I'm like, "That's the cheesiest, corniest thing I've ever heard."
yeah. Way to like
all right,
absolutely
so-
pigeonhole
It's so-
me into one thing, dude.
Yeah, it's a one
It's
exact.
so
yeah.
great though. Like I honestly,
Yeah.
do
I can't
love
Well, you know what's
that.
funny is there's
That's gonna-
like White Sox Dave, like WSD, and then there's like
name in Barstool.
it's like sports team name and then the name. It makes no sense. If you were just like Blackhawks Ryan, like what the fuck?
What
you
if
know?
it was like I don't know Greeny's first name. I think like what is like just Celtics Adam.
Yeah, but I think since
But that's
it's
how it
three works. Like Red Sox John would work.
Red Sox.
RSJ.
Three does actually
Bruins-
have a little more
Bruins-
bad.
yeah, you need to-
What is
that's
it?
a-
Is it two words or is it two? What is it? What's the
White
next?
think
Sox
it's just
Dave. You
three,
need
yeah,
three
three
syllables
Yeah,
or three words.
Yeah.
Either.
Red
Yeah.
Sox John.
White
Oh,
Sox.
it's Red Sox
Bears
John.
Ed.
Yeah,
It kind of does work.
yeah, Red Sox John. It's like-
That picking your name is
About to
like
run home.
I think
Profile.
Neil. Anybody have contact with him? Anyone?
No, I
none of
swear
you
to God, this
Never
is
met him,
so
never talked
Yeah,
to
you
him.
were after
like
text.
a
Were you in?
year.
I wrote one blog and you fired me.
I fired you.
I got an
Wait,
email.
what?
Well,
Yeah,
the
you did.
Blackhawks were on they're on strike, so I got hired. I did like the Notre Dame undefeated blog, and then I just didn't write anything for like months. 'Cause, like I was the Hawks guy, and then you wrote me an email, be like, "Hey, we're trying to consolidate the voices. Like Neil's struggling, so you're gonna be out." I'm like, "All right, well."
You wrote that. You fired exactly one person in my whole life sitting here.
Like
there was an old Bears
like
kid, too.
6'10" still works for Barstool. Technically, I couldn't fire him.
And you were like, "Thanks for your efforts." I'm like, "I don't do anything."
Can you? Is this email still around?
Probably still
Like
around.
deep in the G,
I mean, it would
Gmail?
be
Like,
from
bet.
like winter of 2012.
Yeah,
It'd be
that's
like
an old
almost
one.
like 10 years.
I have to. By the way, that was not like my choice. That had to have been
Right,
cast
yeah.
down. There was no way I was like, Dave, let me tell you what's going on. We're getting rid of Chief today. But
I
man,
read that
that's
one blog
funny.
you did.
We got this Blackhawks Notre Dame guy. He has got to go.
He's out.
But
Kevin's
Neil
had one
between,
fire in his life and he's over.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I don't.
I'm gonna try to pull up old emails.
I mean,
from
that
him.
that is truly like if you had, put a gun to my head and said like, have you ever fired someone at Barstool? I've been like, absolutely not. No way, no chance. I have
I
no
found
recollection
it.
of
I
that.
found
Yeah. Read it out loud.
Hey, dude, I've taken on a new role at the Stool in the last
Oh,
few weeks, overseeing all the
Yeah,
content.
there was one point where Dave, I think he called me like director of content, where he was like, you got to start to like organize the people, and I think probably one of the first things was like, that's why he did it. He was probably like, you got to get rid of some of these guys, so that's your job now. You motherfucker, Dave.
Like 15
So,
people.
I had written one blog. So this is from October 3rd, 2012.
Okay. So, what an
It
asshole.
was my decision to consolidate writers. You lying son of a bitch!
Fuck out of here. All right, so don't read it out loud.
Yeah.
Still here. I don't remember this at all. Holy shit.
So I felt it was my obligation to write the email, not Neil. As far as the hockey niche, it's something we feel Dan can take care of. If we're wrong and the NHL season continues, maybe we'll revisit, which you guys did. Having a full-time hockey writer wasn't full-time for another 8 years. If we do, we'll keep you in mind. So thanks for keeping me in mind. Yeah. I think
well, then I get credit for you coming back
in. Yeah, you left the door open. I emailed Dan in April before the playoffs. He's like, sure.
Yeah,
that was that.
How long did that last?
How long? What?
Well, you being the
director of content. Like it was something where like I think I just put all the guys on an email, and I think it was something as simple as like we just needed to get more clicks. So it was like, I need you guys to write more like like this stuff that like Coley and these guys do now. Where it's like, here's what generates clicks, and so why don't you all make a list? Why don't you all do this type of blog and that type of blog?
Thought you were done with Excel sheets, and then they
right. Yeah, I mean that was
just chopped some heads, and then Dave took it back.
Like everything
one
else.
Head. You chopped one head.
Like everything else.
There was a Bears kid before.
They wrote one blog, right? Yeah.
There was a Bears kid before
we
you?
wrote one blog, I think.
Okay.
I forgot what his name was.
Dude,
I
that
know
is
it
something
'cause
I
I
want to
have
do.
friends of
I don't know
friends.
if it's a interview series or we get Milmore to make a cartoon. Remember when he did the Misfits? There's so many of them that we could like. Who was that guy
Pizza
who wrote?
Boy.
Jimmy Dugan, who wrote for the Yankees.
See, I think the interesting.
Scott,
You had
Strasser, because I had a revolving door of Yankee people.
I thought he
was
was
funny,
the
actually.
who was the
Yeah.
original fucking Yankee or New York guy that just got shit on?
Manzo. But there was also
Dude,
Dower.
Manzo was
Remember
But
Dower?
Manzo also wasn't original. It was Kevin and Keith were the
No,
original.
but
and then-
Manzo
came
used to
in.
write
Manzo wrote in the paper.
for the paper.
Yes.
And then it was like a big deal that like, yo, we're bringing Manzo back.
And I'm pretty sure I don't have like too many actual enemies in this world. I feel like Manzo would like kill me on stage because it just became kind of a versus thing. But
Well, it's funny 'cause that
Dave
was
was
the time
like,
it was
this is
just
the funniest
blogs.
writer. He was like, this is the funniest writer ever.
Wow.
This dude for the paper was like the funniest guy we've ever had at Barstool. He's coming back. And it was just like,
To my knowledge, Manzo like declines everything too. Like,
yeah, I
don't
think he
he's
was
done.
like, fucking, I'm
You've
done with
reached
it,
out
I'll
to
do
him
it.
for the promo show?
I haven't
That's what I
personally,
mean. I
but
feel like
think,
it just
the
did
doc
not
and
go
everything, yeah.
well.
Like, it
But then
happens.
the Jeter thing.
Yeah, that was what I was
You know,
gonna say.
it was a taste thing, like whether you think he's funny or not. He
He was on
pre-wrote a
bull,
blog
yeah.
for Jeter's 3,000th hit because we were on like 3,000 watch. And then, but his 3,000 hit was a home run, and I think it was like a walk-off on top of
Yeah.
it. So
I
it
think
was
it was.
much
I
more than
remember
just a
watching it.
3,000
Yeah.
hit. It was like he did it in Jeter's style, and he just pressed publish because he was out on a boat. And the blog was just like, Derek Jeter gets his 3,000th hit. No mention of the home run, no mention of the walk-off, whatever the circumstances were. And that was, and it was almost like
Better off not
Rappaport.
writing a blog.
Yeah. And I think it was very Rappaport-esque where he was like, dude, you know you're fired, right? Like we can't have that sort of thing.
Wasn't
And
that
it wasn't going
Fred,
well.
too?
But I feel, that like keeps me up at night. I don't like the way that all went down.
I sympathize with a lot.
No, it's fine. But I'm just saying, like,
I think
it's
he's
one of
still
the
Dan's favorite writer in Barstool history.
I never read him with the
No,
paper.
like
Oh,
on the
when he blogged, yeah.
Because Dan would be like, I remember like, because back in like the Cheat Chat gang days, and Dan would be like, dude, if you just read his blog and pretend he's being intentionally bad, they're hilarious.
Yeah. There was one blog he wrote about Flo Rida,
Rida.
and he was calling him Florida. And and Dave was like, I think it's the joke. Like he's being intentionally, and I was like,
Nope.
I think it is. Man. So, but
I've come around on that. I think that was the joke.
You think so?
In the moment, I didn't. I've come around on that. I think it just has to have been. It absolutely has to have been.
it's gone because of DevNest, but I would love to have gone back and reread some of those things. And
I do sympathize with some of those guys too, where they
Absolutely,
just
man.
like they just want
Niels
to go
and
away,
Manzo,
and
I know.
like
Yeah.
everyone's just like and assholes like us just like.
I know. Tell me
You're
more
an
about the time you
asshole.
failed at something.
I know.
I was trying to look up the old emails from Neil. I couldn't find them. But someone commented on something I wrote in like how long did he last for?
Who?
Neil.
Neil? Oh,
Like 2012.
Until March.
Last
was gonna say-
year.
I was
Something
gonna
like
say a
that.
year, but
so
maybe-
2013, maybe a year after that. So 2014, someone's like, dude, you know what Neil's doing? I'm like, I have no fucking clue. I haven't said a word to him since he got canned. And he's like, is this him? And he sent me a picture on Twitter. I wouldn't be able to find it now, of him serving like tables in Florida.
I was
And I
going to
was-
say I thought he was a chef in Florida.
At one point,
Yeah.
he worked at a restaurant, like a little lobster roll shack house, something like that, here in New York. But
He had, I will give this to Neil, he had the most anticipated moment in Barstool
the tweet?
history. The
The tweet.
Just waiting for the tweet was one
Well,
of like, I just refreshing.
it sucks for him. Like, you look around.
He waited days, right?
Oh, yeah.
Was that the reveal?
No, it wasn't. He had revealed himself.
And it was a ridiculous picture. Like,
it was
like
it was
in
the Ned
woods.
Neely
flannel
picture.
shirt,
And so what sucks is if you join Barstool now,
that picture is like.
It was like in a
He's like at a lake house or
in the
something.
background.
Yeah, with a red,
Okay, that was like around the
flannel
time
shirt.
that
Yeah.
Facebook, like when remember in Facebook you just had one picture.
Yes.
So you just like you get to that's all
That's
you
it.
had, just
That's
had
all you
one
got.
picture.
Yes.
Like the moment, so like I remember seeing that picture and like that's it.
And that's the problem
Neil.
is if you look around here now, you got everybody, every look. You got old, young, black, white, good looking, ugly, cool, nerd, all that shit. Back then, we all looked the same. We all talked the same. You all expected a certain level of like the way you talk, the way you look, the way you act, all that shit. So when this like kind of balding, nerdy like face came up, it was just like, what the fuck?
We
is
hired this guy.
Like if we hired him now, it'd be fine. I don't know, whatever. He's a
yeah.
little bit of a weird looking guy, but
Yeah.
whatever. But back then it was like he was doomed. And,
But also
and even
the
the name, it
picture-
was like your name's Neil. That
Yeah.
you know.
Neil for
And now
Neil.
it doesn't matter. And the picture was just so weird and a little
was-
grainy and like a little.
It
like,
was because it was so like it was almost fake, like kind of artsy. Like I feel like his leg was up on a rock or something. Maybe I'm just adding to it in like
Yeah, it was probably like a totally normal picture of a normal guy. But I do give him credit. It was something outdoorsy. But he started Chicago. Like I mean, Dan came in at like a fucking wrecking ball.
Yeah.
But like it was offered to Dan, and he wasn't sure about it. And Neil was like, "Fuck it, I'll do it." And like, you know, there's something to be said for that. That he was just like took his balls and took, you know, made it happen. And had he not got like, you know, taken over by, you know, arguably one of the best to ever do it, like maybe he would have just stuck around.
Hired White
But
Sox Dave.
that's another one
It
I
was
want to
Chief
do.
and I.
I want to do
Yeah.
a coaching tree one day because like Weird Haircut Seth hired Hank. You know? And if there's no
I did
Hank,
not-
who
I
knows
didn't
what
know
happens?
that.
Pardon my take. Who knows, you know, like
It's like
so.
then Hank ends up a millionaire.
Right, that's right. Because a Weird Haircut Seth. Like, so the weirdest people have like, you know, how'd you get here? It's like, I answered an email from, you know, this schmuck or whatever. It's the amount of like luck that goes into this.
hired Hank.
Yep. Because he needed like an assistant. You know, like
What?
Yep. Wacky.
That was
I knew
so
that.
fucking.
Yeah.
There is a picture. I don't know what the name of the park or the square is in Boston, but it was like, dude, your fucking signatures guy's not doing shit, and it was just him chilling in a park bench in the middle of Boston, not
Boston
collecting.
Common?
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Not collecting any signatures, and it's like, dude, that's why you're fucking here. Go collect the signatures. And signatures are what fucked up the mayoral
Yeah,
race, right?
well, I mean, I think there was a lot of things, but yeah, it was supposed to be like, you know,
we
I
got
gotta go
those
down there and
signatures,
get.
And then he just went to
Yeah.
like witness protection, right? After that, because he's like,
he's
I'm
another
gonna-
guy. He's gone.
He's definitely.
gone,
I
he
actually
won't.
saw someone. I was like in line at this bar of the Harp, and like someone was like, "Fine, this is years and years and years ago," and they're like, "Yeah, I actually work with Seth now," and I was like, "Oh, like how's he doing?" He's like, "He's not doing well." like
Not so great.
like PTSD. Like
straight jacket.
He was like, he's like, if he walks by a computer with Barstool open, it's not good.
Oh, he
And
just
I was
puts his head down and walks away.
I really do sympathize. with
You're
that.
Like, I definitely get
I'm happy here, and it's gonna be like more successful beyond my wildest dreams, and I have PTSD about some of the stuff here. Could you imagine if you got just chewed up, spit out, and made fun of, and then you probably hate Barstool.
It was like one of the most iconic clips from like that era.
But that's
Yeah,
also why
yeah.
I don't sympathize, because he brought it upon himself. He got a
Yeah.
ridiculous haircut, and he said he could throw a football 70 yards.
70
And then he
yards!
threw it like 15. I mean,
He said he could throw it further than Drew Bledsoe could throw.
he actually is one of the reasons, like maybe the reason, I remember that being like, I will never proclaim anything ever again.
Yeah.
I will never be like definitively I can do this, even if it's
Undersell.
something I know about my own self. It's like you never fucking know. Like I'm just never gonna, because especially the main thing was when like Rough and Rowdy started. It's like you can never ever again be like, you fucking pussy, I'll fight you.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like okay,
Yeah.
here we go. Let's stage a whole
Let's talk
pay-per-view
about
for
this.
us.
Yeah.
I mean, so once things got so big here that you could make all of it happen, it was like, I'm just gonna be quiet. I feel like you, I mean, your job now is basically pull all of this out of Dave. And, like,
What's
these kind
great
of
is
stories.
this past week's episode was awesome because he was like super uncomfortable because someone sent me a screenshot of him like get in the middle of his new girlfriend, like sending eyeball emojis to some dude who whatever, like maybe like playfully flirting in there. He's like getting all like nervous, and I'm like, oh, it's a little different when it ain't so fun when the rabbit's got the gun. You know what I mean? And he was just like,
Rabbit's got the gun.
how'd you find this? Like, I was like, yeah, see, you fucking, I got the hot lamp on you, motherfucker. And I do enjoy that a lot.
It's very, like, I can probably count on.
You're like, I just want to get home. It's a lot. It's really enjoyable.
I can probably count on one hand, probably 2 fingers at times that I've seen him like beat red and like uncomfortable and like it's.
Let's talk about
very, no. There are times that you definitely can't even talk about, but it's that they're the book or the movie that they write one day if it happens like. It's not even about the major players. Like Dave, great story.
Francis will write it, right?
Yeah.
That was a thing, actually. Wasn't it?
His story though is like
He
he started this thing and built it and made money. Like that's the normal story. That's the boring story. I'd rather have like the biopic be about where Kirk was at.
Simon back in the, of all that we're talking about who are scared to be like back in it, Simon can't get your passport.
Simon walked all the
Simon,
way. Like, I'm back.
Simon
The king is here.
I forgot to bring that up in this week's episode. He made a cameo. After the episode.
Like a cameo video, you
Yeah,
mean?
you know, he like
made
yeah. He made a cameo.
See, he's a guy who could probably make some cash.
Oh,
doing
Ben
cameos.
I don't-
some fucking
yeah.
cash for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
like and he probably just makes the same one every time. Like, it's Pirate Simon. I don't know, whatever. Like, yeah.
And then, like, on the interview, seemed remarkably normal.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
somehow
I
he
know.
came out like a
he
very
wasn't
well-adjusted human
But,
being.
no,
Simon-
but that interview was normal.
That one was?
Yeah, he was just like,
Yeah.
he was like, I don't regret my experience. It was obviously a little weird and like very, like,
That
all that
wasn't
dude
the
needed to
porn
do
thing?
was just be like, I downloaded some porn.
That's all. I get being scared to admit that.
Oh, for
like
sure.
at that age and all that
Because
stuff.
he did say in that interview, he was like, I'm never gonna get a job again if I like say that I was downloading porn at work.
Right.
It's like, well, you made it a lot worse. He did. He lost a job because of this.
Really?
Yeah, he said that he
yeah.
got a job at a place, and then they were like,
yeah, you said
they
that, yeah.
rescinded it. Like, we just found out about this, so we can't have you working here.
Yeah.
Which is
That's
Because you
fucking
watch
weird.
porn? Shut the
Yeah,
fuck up.
yeah.
But
I think the
porn
circumstances
thing-
were made worse by the fact that it was like the pirate porn thing.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
and
Yeah.
but what people I don't
And he stole.
the Stagnetti
It was-
revenge thing
Then he threw Dan
was
under the
like
bus
a
right
big
away.
budget.
Right
It was like
away.
the biggest budget porn ever made or
yeah.
something. So there
Yeah.
was some like crazy storyline
Yeah, yeah.
about the movie that made it ridiculous. The fact that it was like a pirate thing though.
Yeah, but
You know, if it was like night nurses or something,
Right.
then
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's like night nurses from Jersey. Like, yeah, I can fuck with that. But then like the fact that it's like,
So we
who
got
the
your
fuck is-
fucking thing.
Yeah, who the fuck is
So we know
Casper?
Carl's the nurse porn guy. All right.
Well, that's a quote from Little Big League.
That was that was one of my goals over quarantine. You know, Jeff D. Lowe was doing like showing the movies, like watching the town and shit like that. And you would have like a timer and it was like a watch along, and people would comment.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to get Porn King and Simon and rewatch Stagnetti's Revenge. And, like, all of us.
So tell me your favorite scene here.
I mean, it's a hardcore porn.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's like really. I think there's like a double
porn with another guy in
penetration
the room
scene
is
in
a
there.
little
I don't
bit
know
weird.
if that's.
When we were in the depths of June quarantine, it was
Anything.
like, let's
Anything to
fucking
get
do
some
it.
content, man.
It's like,
It's like your camera's off. What's going on? Yeah.
I always say that the downloading of the porn wasn't the strange thing that he did in the office. He would regularly send me an email, and he sat in the back. He sat like right at the base of Dave's stairs, and I was sitting like where Jenna Marbles used to sit, or
Yeah.
maybe
I can
wherever
visualize
I was.
it.
And he would send me an email, and he would get up and he would say, "Did you get my email?" Before I got the email, and I'm like, "No, son." Like, it literally isn't. Like, he'd hit send.
The electronic.
And it's like
the-
already be over at me. But you
Yeah.
get my email. What do you think? I was like, dude, I don't even have it. And I'd refresh my Gmail.
Yeah.
It'd come in. I'd be like, sure, I'd love some of your dad's beef jerky.
Simon, we had to beam that email up to space and back.
It was,
No, I didn't
like,
get
it was
your
a
email.
regular thing. He's like, hang on, let me refresh, and I'll read it while you stand over my shoulder.
Dude, the fact that it was that cast of characters when Dave was running for mayor is like, and probably would have won.
What other cast-offs are there?
What?
Oh, there's so many.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
There's a ton in my world because of like the Yankees and New York stuff. There was the J Max, there was Charlie Wisco,
Yeah.
JJ Strasser.
The pizza guy, he was
Strasser was pizza guy. Some of those guys were funny. They just never.
I thought
really
Strasser
committed
was
to
really
it.
funny.
Scott was just a good sports writer. Strasser was funny. JJ was just the perfect like idiot Yankee fan, asshole Yankee fan. So they all kind of always like played their role, but they also never really like stuck to it.
The 6'10"
It was a pretty sweet gig. Like I remember 6'10" being pretty good, and
He's still right. So
yeah, and I was like, you you do you want to like try to work full time? And he was like, I got like a good deal, and I make like a few $100 a month extra. Like, it's good. So
Yeah.
all right, yeah, but I mean, there's a million cast-offs that I feel like you'd be the guy to one day try to put together some of these pieces, especially with the Dave Portnoy show cooking now. But yeah, Chicago, you guys are the
It's
last.
last having you guys in the office.
Yeah, you
I
are the last
fucking
thing that
hate
is
coming
a
over here.
reference to
No,
that
I
cast.
don't.
Yeah.
I like
Cast
it.
era.
You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I've
Not the
I've
same.
I mean, I
enjoyed the
enjoy
last
these
2
three
weeks.
guys. You're-
I know. That's fair. That's fair. I hate me.
Jesus. All right.
Click on the bell icon below to keep up with notifications, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Strong drinks, full pints, can't lose.
Can't lose.